My Lords, it's a pleasure to follow the noble Baroness Lady Deach. I agree with much of what she said about the state of the courts and the justice system, and I particularly wish to echo her call for the Lord Chancellor to be restored to his former status. My Lords, I support the motion for the humble address. I welcome, on the whole, the government's programme. I look forward to taking part in bills as diverse as those on procurement, transport, HS2. I do have serious concerns about some measures, particularly about the online safety bill, where I thought the case made by the noble Lord King of Hunt King's Heath, and seconded, if you like, by my noble friend Lord Wolfson of Tredegar, was completely compelling. I have very serious concerns about that. I'm anxious to ensure that the conversion therapy bill protects young people from irreversible surgical and chemical interventions. And I want to be clear that any measure to tighten the parole system, as referred to by the noble Lord Dalacchia, does not delay the resolution of the continuing scandal of prisoners serving historic indefinite sentences for public protection. But I want to give the bulk of my remarks today to the question of Northern Ireland on this day on which we're discussing our constitution. The noble Baroness Lady Merron said that she regretted a number of measures that did not appear in the gracious speech. I deeply regretted the absence of a clear commitment to repeal the legislation putting the Northern Ireland Protocol into effect. We have subsequently heard more about this bill that didn't appear in the gracious speech than we have about any of the measures that did appear in it, but we still have no idea what that bill might contain. It needs not to tinker with the protocol, but to remove it. My Lords, let me deal with two objections first. The first is the "you signed it" argument, quintessentially ad hominem in character. Implicit in that is the idea that if the Northern Ireland Protocol isn't working, then the Brexit deal as a whole was a bad deal. That is far from the case, my Lords. Any major project that might be undertaken, such as building yourself a house, may go perfectly well in a large number of respects, but nonetheless have a flaw. You find the garage block roof is leaking. Now, of course, you can spend a very long time arguing about who was responsible for that. You can even spend time litigating about it, but none of that actually fixes the problem. The focus of government has to be on fixing the problem. That is what the government has to do. So I hope we hear no more of that argument, which really, as I say, is almost childish, a political point scoring. The second objection is that we may breach an international agreement. This was an argument advanced frequently and with vigour during your Lordship's debate of Part 5 of the Internal Markets Bill. But I noted then that a number of noble lords, not least those with judicial experience, said that there might be a case for doing so if a harm could be pointed to. Now, with over a year's experience, we can now point to the harms done by the Northern Ireland Protocol. I'm not going to dwell, because I don't have the direct experience, on the harms done to the economy, perfectly predictable harms, as the European Union insisted on an almost overnight transition from the sourcing of the inputs of that economy from one market to another. And I'm not going to expand on the split between the communities that has been sharpened and which now threatens the institutions of the Good Friday Agreement and of the peace process, because I do not have the intimate knowledge of Northern Irish politics that others can bring to your Lordship's house. I only want to end by pointing to the damage that the Northern Ireland Protocol is doing to us and to our union, to our United Kingdom. how can we consider ourselves to be, we've discussed a great deal about human rights today, how can we consider ourselves to be a United Kingdom when tax rates such as VAT are set in part of our United Kingdom by a foreign power with no representation by the people who suffer them, who suffer the incidence of that tax? How can the government be said to be discharging its obligations to the welfare of all the people within its territory if some of those people are dependent for the supply of medicines on legislation passed unilaterally in a foreign parliament? If the present situation continues, we will in effect have given up on the Union. We have not seen the bill, as I say. I hope it is comprehensive, and I say to my noble friends on the front bench that we will not get a third chance to put this right. A measure that goes off at half-cock will simply not do.